Hey, real quick, before we dive into today's episode, if you've been feeling like your brand needs a little love, but you're not quite sure where to start, I have just the tool you need. The Standout Brand Audit Bot is an AI-powered guided audit that shows you exactly what's working, what's not, and how to strengthen your brand using my proven Standout brand system. In 10 minutes or less, you'll walk away with clear next steps to move your brand forward with purpose. It's completely free. Just head to the show notes to grab the link and get started. Today's episode is a little different than normal and a little more personal. I am pulling back the curtain on my own business and giving you a really real, honest look at how Q1 has gone and sharing the wins, struggles, lessons learned, and what I'm focusing on heading into Q. I originally had a different episode planned for this week and then truthfully just really felt like taking a look back at how the first 3 months of this year have gone and taking some time to reflect and look ahead. So I'm doing it live with you on this podcast. If you love behind the scenes business content like me, you're going to love this one. Welcome to the Six Figure Brand Podcast, where each week we're pulling back the curtain on what it really takes to build a six-figure business as an online service provider. I'm your host, Morgan. I'm a branding expert, online agency owner, mom of two, and military spouse, and I'm obsessed with helping entrepreneurs like you understand the ins and outs of branding so that you can use it to grow your business without sacrificing your sanity. Whether you're just starting out or focused on scaling, we're diving into everything you need to build a profitable and sustainable online business. Let's get to it. So before we dive in, I will preface this with saying that selfishly, I'm really recording this episode for myself. I hope that you will enjoy it and learn some little nuggets. And I would love to hear from you when you're done listening and share with me if anything resonated, if you were like, oh yeah, me too, to any of the things that I shared. But I am really trying to do a better job this year of taking the time to reflect and pat myself on the back and take note of what lessons I learned. So this is me holding myself accountable and actually doing that. I want to start out by reading a post that I made on Threads on January 1st of this year, because I think it really sets the stage and provides some good context for how I was feeling going into 2026. And I think that's really important. So the post reads, very, very, very vulnerable post that I will almost certainly delete later, ellipses. Every time I see a quote, booked my new brand new website project for 2026 post, I'm over here dying a little inside. Like, okay, clearly something with my marketing has got to change. So if you're in a where are all the clients season, just know that you're not alone and it won't last forever. And then in parentheses, I put also, this is not a request for help or permission to pitch me. Thanks. That thread got 5.8 thousand views, 217 likes, and 88 comments, which is a lot for my account. I have like less than 1,000 followers on Threads. So that's like some serious engagement for a post that was made on a holiday when like my audience of business owners is typically not spending a ton of time engaging on social media. All of those comments were people saying some version of same, thank you for saying this out loud, or I was in that boat last year, it gets better, and those sorts of sentiments. And that really was eye-opening for me. And I know it's easy to feel like when things feel hard that we're the only one, but being willing to be vulnerable and share that, I think was so important for me starting out the year to just be really honest with myself about, hey, things feel hard right now and it kind of sucks. And I'm just going to say that out loud. And then to have so many people be able to relate with me and say, oh, I'm in that exact same position really helped make me feel less alone. And then also hearing from the people who were on the other side of that gave me a lot of reassurance, I guess, that it was going to be okay. And it was. The reason I wanted to share that post was to give you the context that Q1 has been a huge season of turning the ship around for me and starting to finally see some traction on changes that I've been making to my business for probably the last 6 to 8 months or so. So that's a big theme of what we're going to be talking about today. Now, let's start with some wins. So now you know that going into Q1, I was feeling a little discouraged, to be blunt. And now we're going to share some wins so that I can not only pat myself on the back a little, but also paint the picture of how much can really change in just 3 months. So in Q1 of 2026, I booked 5 standout brand strategy sessions and completed 3 of them, which is super exciting because that is a newer offer. I've been doing strategy sessions as part of a branding project for a long time, but it's only been in the last several months that I've started offering them as a standalone service. So that's been really reassuring for me to see that offer sort of get some traction and like find my rhythm in marketing it a little bit, just as proof of concept for me that that is something people want and they are finding value in it. And I'm getting such great feedback of people saying over and over again, oh my gosh, that was the best 90 minutes I've ever spent working on my business. So that is very exciting for me. I also am starting to see a lot of patterns in the business owners who are booking standout brand strategy sessions. And I want to share with you a couple of common themes that keep coming up because I think they will probably resonate with you also. So the first thing is that in all of these cases, these businesses have looked fairly polished on the outside, pretty well put together, but the business owners did not feel that way on the inside. So of the 3 that I completed, all 3 of them stated that they feel like things look pretty good. We have a really solid external presence, but it just feels chaotic to me. And when we dug into that, we found that the foundation of their brand, the strategy piece, had not been looked at in a while, if ever. So I think it's really worth asking yourself, does your brand actually reflect where your business is at now and where it's going? Or has that kind of stayed stagnant ever since you started your business? And is it worth taking a second look at? The second common thread that kept coming up over and over was that their positioning was very fuzzy. All 3 of these business owners were doing really good work for their clients, and the clients who they did book were super happy with them, but they were struggling to clearly articulate who they help and what makes them different from everybody else who offers their service. So that was a big area that we focused on in all 3 of these strategy sessions. It wasn't because they didn't know their business or they didn't know their ideal client. In all 3 of these cases, the reason why they had never spent the time to work on their positioning is because they had grown their business through referrals. So they never really needed to, but now they're in a position where they want to start more actively marketing their business and not relying only on referrals. So it was really time to take that step back and look at their positioning and figure out, okay, who am I for? What transformation do I offer? What makes me the best? And how do I convey that to my audience? So if you are finding yourself kind of winging it every time someone asks what you do or what makes you special, that's probably something that you really need to work on because there is something that makes you special. We just need to figure out what that is and how do we communicate that. And then finally, the third common thread was that they were all really ready to grow, but they just didn't have like a foundation to be that springboard for them to grow from. They weren't in panic mode. They were already doing well, but they just had sort of reached a ceiling where they didn't know what to do next. And they maybe had like several options of different directions they could grow in, but they really needed to pause and take a look at their purpose, their mission, their vision for the future and figure out, okay, what sort of foundation does my business need in order to move towards that vision? Doing that work during their standout brand strategy session gave them the clarity that they needed to then take that next step with actual intention instead of just sort of throwing spaghetti at the wall and saying, okay, well, we'll just see what works out here. So if any of those 3 things really resonated with you, I would highly, highly consider working on your brand strategy. I, of course, am happy to help with that. The details on the standout brand strategy session are always in the show notes of this episode. And if we are not a good fit, I have plenty of people that I can refer you to. Another big win for my business this quarter was that I officially launched the Standout Brand Partner Referral Program. This has been something that I've wanted to kind of formalize for a while. Would say at least 50% of my business has been referrals. And I just wanted to create something that was a little more formal and structured to not only incentivize people to refer me, but also to just really build those relationships. And that's been super exciting. So I now have 10 official standout brand partners, which is super exciting. When they refer a client to me, they get a little kickback. Their client also gets a discount, which is awesome. And I have been super, super selective in who I invite to be standout brand partners so that I can really strategically choose people whose work complements mine so that the work that I'm doing with their clients is then making their lives easier. So for example, copywriters, SEO consultants, OBMs and web designers, marketers, so social media marketers, ads people, etc., so that they can send their clients to me. We can build that really solid foundation of brand strategy, and then I can send them back and say, okay, here now your client has everything they need to make your job really easy and really effective. So that has been super exciting for me and really fruitful for those referral partners as well. And then finally, completed 2 VIP days and 1 VIP week. This format of working is something that I kind of got away from after I had kids because scheduling was just so hard. Now that my kids are getting a little bit older and I have like more structure and a little more support as far as childcare goes, I've been dipping my toe back into doing these VIP days and VIP weeks, and I have really, really enjoyed it. We can get so much done in a day or a week when a client comes to me with an already established brand and they need some website updates or a sales page. The VIP week that I did was a client who was launching a new program, like a course. So we did the sales page and some marketing collateral for that, and we knocked it out all in 1 week. So it's done really quickly. It's done really well. I am focused only on that project for that day or that week. And it's just been a fun little change in the way that I'm working with clients. They really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. So I'm excited to be bringing those back in 2026. As far as visibility and growing my business is something last year that I said I really wanted to focus on in 2026. I kind of got away from it with being on maternity leave in 2025 and then moving and just being so busy that I just did not have time to be showing up to a ton of events, applying for speaking engagements, that kind of a thing. So coming into 2026, that's something I was really excited to focus on. I have so far this year guested on 5 podcasts, which has been really exciting for me. My favorite visibility opportunity has been just a couple weeks ago. I gave a live training inside one of my favorite networking communities, Made for Mothers, all about how to elevate your client experience using strategic branding. That was so fun for me. It's been a long time since I've done something live like that. There was about 40 women who joined us live. It was super interactive. Everyone learned a ton. I had the best time ever. It really was probably the highlight of Q1 for me, to be honest. And I would love to do more stuff like that looking forward into Q2. I also did 12 coffee chats and a handful of group networking events, which was big for me. I am so big on building relationships in business. And I really, truly believe that that is the best way to grow your business, even though it's kind of a long game strategy. Over the last year, I haven't had time to do that as much as I would like, just due to moving and childcare and all the things that I've said over and over again. So I'm proud of myself for really prioritizing that so far in Q1. And looking ahead to Q2, I'm super excited that I will be speaking at the Ordinary Business Summit. My presentation is on how I use client feedback to make my business better. The reason why I'm including that in my Q1 recap is that that is something I did in Q1 and it will be going live in Q2. So if you're curious about attending the Ordinary Business Summit, it's online April 1st and 2nd. This was 10 out of 10, my favorite online business event that I attended in 2025. And so it was such an honor for Jess to invite me to speak at it in 2026. I know it's going to be really, really great. You can grab a free ticket. I will include the link. Is your brand feeling a little off? Like your visuals, messaging, and your overall vibe just are not lining up with where your business is headed? You probably don't need another pretty logo. You actually need a solid strategy behind your brand. That's exactly what we'll build together inside the Standout Brand Strategy session, a one-on-one deep dive into your brand foundation so that you can finally show up with clarity, consistency, and confidence. And if you're thinking about working with Spect & Co. on branding or web design, this is your first step for every single project that we do together. Clients who have gone through this process have tripled their audience size, doubled their revenue, and raised their rates by 30% or more. Use the link in the show notes to book your session, and don't forget to enter code SFBPOD at checkout to save $100. In the show notes, you don't want to miss it. It's going to be so good. And then switching gears to content and audience growth, I launched my Brand Bites newsletter, which was super exciting for me. I've had this idea kind of rolling around in my head for a while about just sending one tip of something you can do to improve your brand every single week. And finally, while I was listening to a podcast from Sarah, Between the Lines Copy, she had an episode that was all about naming your thing, that it makes it feel more fun for you. It sticks in people's brains better, etc. And all of a sudden the name popped up in my brain, and like 2 days later I had the sign up page ready to go. So we are now on week 10 of Brand Bites. You can subscribe anytime. The link for that will be in the show notes. And every Monday you get a 10-minute tip in your inbox of something that you can do that is really quick and easy and will make a big impact on helping you improve your brand. I also published 25 podcast episodes, which we're going to talk about again in the struggles and lessons section. I did an experiment in Q1 where I published new episodes twice weekly instead of once weekly, and it was good. I created a lot of good content. I did a lot of great interviews with really, really amazing business owners that I'm so proud and happy to share, and I felt like I was a full-time podcaster. But with that said, the most listened to episodes of Q1 were episode 44, Why I'm Breaking Up with Business Coaching in 2026, episode 45, which was an interview with sales coach Nikki Rausch on using neurolinguistic programming for better sales, and episode 48, How to Build a brand ecosystem that supports growth. So if you have not listened to those episodes yet, I would go back and listen because everyone else has loved them. I also added 95 new email subscribers to my list, which was about a 25% increase. I am a stickler about cleaning my list, so it stays pretty small but pretty engaged. So adding 95 new people over the span of 3 months was very, very exciting for me. I did that through a combination of creating a couple of new opt-ins. I participated in a few bundles. A lot of networking helped with that. So that was exciting for me to have some new people in my world on the email list. And then I also added 346 new social media followers between Instagram and Threads, which was really exciting for me to see some new fresh faces in my world and hopefully some people that will make their way into my sales funnel that hopefully I will be able to support with their brand strategy and design. And then lastly, if you listened to the episode about why I'm breaking up with business coaching in 2026, you will know that I started 2 peer masterminds in 2026. The goal was to kind of fill that gap of community where a lot of us pay for business coaching or pay for masterminds just because we want to have a village online. And I don't think that's something we need to pay for. So I got some friends together, started 2 groups. Only one of them survived. I'll share the story about the one that did not survive in the struggles section. Like, no hard feelings, nothing bad. It's just the way things go sometime. But the one that has stood the test of time so far is truly the highlight of my month, every month. It is so, so, so nice to have a group of women who are in a similar stage of business as me, a similar stage of life as me, who I can, vent about my kids throwing a temper tantrum or celebrate a new client booking or ask for advice about, hey, I just published a sales page. What do you think? Like, does this make sense? So highly, highly, highly recommend if you have been craving community, create your own. And Jen, Angelica, Lindsay, Jenny, Megan, and Amanda, if you are listening, I am so, so, so grateful for all of you. So I hope that hearing this list of wins, rather than coming across braggy, which I don't think it does, and frankly, like I said, I'm recording this mostly for me, so that's okay if it does, I guess. But I hope that it paints a really good picture of how much can change in 3 months. I started out by sharing that Threads post where I was frankly feeling pretty discouraged about business and feeling like I'm doing everything right. Why am I not gaining traction? And now at the end of March, I can say the momentum is building. Things are working. And that has been such a breath of fresh air for me. So I'm excited and optimistic about Q2. And if you are in a position like I was at the beginning of the year, I hope that this is a reminder that things do get better. Now, of course, those wins don't come without their struggles and lessons learned. So let's share some of those. While revenue is on an upward trajectory for sure, it is still not where I want it to be. And that's a huge bummer. Like, it sucks looking back at, my profit and loss statements for the first 3 months of the year and being like, oh man, I really only brought in like 50 to 60% of the amount of money that I would like to be earning on a regular basis. And that's a huge bummer, especially when I felt so busy in Q1. And so it's really hard to be like, I'm working so hard. Where's all the money? The lesson here for me is that being busy doesn't equal generating revenue. And I know this, but apparently I haven't learned the lesson fully because I keep having to relearn this lesson over and over again. So in Q2, I'm just going to be a lot more intentional about where my time and energy goes and making sure that what I'm spending my time on does actually generate revenue. The silver lining is that, like I said, things are on an upward trajectory. I have proof now that what I'm doing is working, and I just need to keep doing it for longer in order to get back to those income levels that I would like to be at. So I am genuinely optimistic about what's ahead. So the fact that I went from in January feeling so discouraged about my business to the end of March having booked 5 strategy sessions, 2 VIP days, a VIP week, 5 podcast appearances, and a fully flushed out referral program in 3 months is an indication that something is working and I'm on the right track, even if my revenue doesn't fully reflect that. So that is really exciting for me. I will say, though, that I definitely flirted with burnout a little bit in Q1. I started out the year feeling pretty good and optimistic as far as my energy levels go. And right now I'm on the verge of burnout. And that's okay. There are seasons like that in business, and I know that. And I am much better now at recognizing the signs and kind of course correcting or figuring out what little things I can do to help not fully go over that ledge. But it is a big indicator for me that I need to be a lot more intentional about how I'm spending my time and how I'm supporting myself in my real life away from business. Looking back, I was definitely trying to do too much in Q1 and not building enough margin in for myself. So it's just a good reminder that even though I'm excited about things and I love my business and I love working and I love trying to do everything all by myself all the time, that's not realistic, and I don't want to get to a place of burnout again. So I need to reevaluate some of those things for Q2. In that same vein, twice weekly podcasting is not sustainable for me, and that's okay. It was a good experiment. I published a lot of great content. Like I said, I chatted with a lot of great business owners in interviews, but like I said earlier, I felt like I was a full-time podcaster. It took up a lot of time. I wanted to do this experiment because I was feeling a little frustrated with like some stagnation in the growth of the podcast and like the amount of downloads I was getting. And so I wondered if publishing more content would help. And it did help. Downloads increased by maybe 20% or so. And I got a lot of great feedback on the episodes that I did publish. But I don't think for me the juice was worth the squeeze. I'm not currently monetizing the podcast. I don't get a ton of leads directly from the podcast. So for me, it's something that I love doing, and it is right now my favorite way to create content, and I can very easily repurpose that content to other platforms. So it's still worth it for me to continue running the podcast, but twice weekly I don't think is sustainable or necessary. So in Q2, I will be going back to once weekly podcasting. And then finally, I alluded to this earlier, but one of the peer masterminds that I was part of ended, and that's okay. Like I said, no hard feelings. It's a good lesson in speaking up and being okay with calling it when things are not working and giving each other grace, and also letting people give us grace. So without like getting into a ton of details here, basically, long story short is we tried it for 3 months. Not everyone was able to show up to every call. There was a couple of us that were just feeling like it wasn't sustainable and we didn't want another call on our calendar every month. And it was kind of creating more stress than it was helping. So we agreed to call it quits. The 3 of us who wanted to continue the group, I just brought those 2 into the other group that I was running. So it worked out for everyone. And I think that sometimes we need to just try things and, give ourselves the opportunity to see if it's going to work and if it's not going to work. And if it doesn't work, that's okay. I'm still very glad I did it. I met 5 women who I'm still in contact with and refer clients to all the time. And it was overall a good experience. But I know in the past I would have taken that as like a personal failure. So that's why I wanted to include it in the lessons section of like, hey, I tried this thing. It didn't work out. It's okay. I built some great relationships, and I still have one peer mastermind that is thriving, and that's okay. Now, looking ahead to Q2, some goals and things I'd like to work on. The first goal is that I really, really want to support 2 clients with ultimate brand experiences. This is our signature offer at Spect & Co. It's the highest touch way that we can support you in building your brand. It covers everything from brand strategy through design, website design, SEO, copy, marketing, and in Q2, if you book an ultimate brand experience, you also get a photo shoot included with the Workplay branding team, which is a huge, huge, huge value, both monetarily, but also in the impact that it's going to have on your branding project. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about the details, but if you are looking for a truly comprehensive branding experience, click the link in the show notes and check out the Ultimate Brand Experience package, then book a brand chat to talk with me about how that can look for your specific brand. For me, and what I'm going to do to help myself meet this goal is just being a lot more intentional about how I'm talking about it, who I'm talking about it to, and frankly, getting more comfortable being salesy and not being afraid to tell people how great this offer is. Secondly, I am shifting away from Instagram and to LinkedIn as my primary social media platform. Instagram and Threads have been like my 1 and 2 for the last several years. But I think this will resonate with a lot of you. I am just not seeing the ROI on Instagram that I once was, and it takes so much time to create quality Instagram content. Whereas I know my ideal audience is on LinkedIn. I know they're there looking for my services, but it's just not something that I've ever prioritized. And even still, I've gotten a few clients from there. So I really want to pour my social media energy into LinkedIn for Q2 as a little experiment, same as I did the podcast experiment in Q1, and see if that makes a difference in the amount of leads that I bring in. I'm not deleting my Instagram. I'm not never going to show up there. I will still post there as I feel like it, but I'm not going to have necessarily like a marketing plan for Instagram. I'm going to put all that energy into LinkedIn and see what kind of traction I get. So I'll report back on that in my Q2 recap. As far as visibility and audience building goes, Like I said, I'm really, really looking forward to speaking at the Ordinary Business Summit in Q2, and I would love to book a few more opportunities like that, whether it's online summits, podcast guesting, training in other people's memberships and communities. Visibility is a long game for sure, and it's also something that I finally am starting to actually enjoy. So if you or someone that you know is looking for somebody to speak about brand strategy, brand design, website design, client experience, using feedback in your online business, any of the things that I talk about on this podcast, I would love a connection with them. And finally, I'm going to try to slow down as much as I can and protect my energy and build in a little bit more margin for myself. Like I said, I'm not burnt out yet, but if something doesn't change, I will be there soon. And I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to be a lot more strategic about where I'm putting my energy. Tangibly, some of that looks like not stressing about Instagram so much, not publishing twice weekly podcast episodes, leaning on my team a little bit more, etc. I am doing okay now. Like I said, like getting close to burnout, not quite there yet. And so now I know that I need to just really prioritize my mental health, my physical health, and building in some extra space for myself. So I'm going to do that. I think overall Q1 was a huge win for me. I'm really patting myself on the back of just the transformation from January 1st until now. It was also messy and it was very full and it was humbling in a lot of ways, but it's really important for me to be honest with you on the show about what the behind the scenes of building, and in my case, rebuilding a six-figure business actually looks like. I started this year feeling behind and defeated and like I wasn't getting any traction. And 3 months later, I genuinely feel the opposite. So if you are in a season where you're struggling a little bit like I was in January, just know that if you keep going, if you keep taking action that you know is going to get you towards your goals, it will. It might take longer than you want. It's taken longer than I want, for sure. But I hope that this gives you some inspiration and some motivation that you will get there. To wrap us up, I would love to hear how Q1 has gone for you. Shoot me a DM on Instagram or Threads and tell me your biggest win from Q1 so that I can share it and celebrate with my community as well. Thanks for tuning in to the Six Figure Brand Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to rate the show and leave a review on whatever app you're listening on. And as a thank you, I'll send you coffee on me. Yes, I'm serious. As a smaller show for now, you taking the time to do this makes a huge impact on how we can reach more people and how I can continue to create this content for free. When you take a screenshot of your review, follow and tag me on Instagram at @SpectandCo. I'll send you a $5 Starbucks gift card. As always, don't forget to check out the show notes for any links or resources I mentioned during the episode. Thanks again for listening, and I'll catch you next week.